What is the biggest mistake you've ever made? I betrayed my husband. 3 months ago, I was out on a business trip for 3 days. The first night, I went out for drinks with my coworkers. While out, a man started flirting with me. I guess at the time I liked the attention. My husband had always been loving and supportive. He's handsome, in incredible shape, and he constantly compliments me, so I don't know why I felt so gratified by this random guy, but I did. After way too many drinks, I went with him to his apartment and we did the deed. Immediately afterwards, I realized what I had done and left. I cut my work trip short, saying I felt ill and headed home. I immediately confessed to my husband. I told him everything, and offered to answer all his questions. He just said he needed to go for a walk, and when he came back, he just asked me if I liked it. I was honest with him. I told him I didn't. It wasn't fun, it was fodder intimacy with a man that clearly didn't care if I enjoyed it or not. This guy was nowhere near as good as my husband was, and I told him this. He just stood there looking at me, and told me he needed to go out for a bit to think and left again. He was gone for a couple of hours and finally stumbled back through the front door really inebriated. It was I can barely speak kinda drunk. That became a common occurrence since the incident. He's gone from drinking maybe 3 times a month at the most, to drinking every night. And it's not just drinking, but getting blackout drunk and passing out either in our backyard or on the couch. He started smoking cigarettes again, even after he quit 2 years ago. He's been blowing off our friends when they invite him out to events. He just goes to work, comes home, drinks and smokes, then passes out. He hasn't gone to the gym since I told him my secret. He used to go 5 times a week. He barely eats anything. Whenever I try to talk to him, he just responds with short answers or mumbles. When we had our first marriage counseling sessions, he barely spoke. The counselor tried to get something out of him, but he just gave the same short answers. I've offered everything I can think of to make things right. I've been doing the things he always did for me. I made him coffee each morning, told him he's handsome, and offered to do errands for him. But he didn't seem to care anymore. He was just a shell of his former self. I'm really scared I've done something irreparable. I haven't seen him smile this entire time. 2 months ago, he came back from whatever pub he had been drinking at with a bloody nose and a black eye. I was horrified and tried to find out what happened. He just told me to screw off. He started telling me I might as well go find that guy I cheated with so I can be happy. I tried telling him I've always been happy with him, but he threw it back in my face asking why I cheated. I didn't have an answer. I've spent these months racking my brain but I can't think of a single reason why I did it. He wasn't better looking, nicer, in better shape, more attentive or anything. It was just a mistake I made after having too much to drink. I don't know what to do. It feels like there's nothing left in this marriage. In a last-ditch effort, I told his best friend what had happened. I asked her to come over 2 nights ago, so that I could explain the situation. She, rightfully, exploded in my face, calling me horrible names and asked when my husband was. I told her he was at the pub, and she stormed out without saying another word. They came back home 20 minutes later, and she told me to pack some bags because I needed to stay with my parents. I tried to argue, but my husband told me to leave. I told my parents as well. They were confused as to why I was showing up at their house at 8 p.m. with 3 bags full of clothes. I told them I just needed a place to stay, and they didn't question it. I sent my husband a text that night saying I loved him, and that I would do anything to get his trust back. Last month, I called his best friend to see if she's made any progress with his drinking. She told me he started attending AA meetings, and has since dumped all of the alcohol in the house down the drain. This whole time, she's been staying with him to ensure he doesn't hurt himself. At some point, my parents found out about what I had done, and they were furious. My father refuses to speak with me, and my mother won't even look me in the eye. A huge gap has formed between my parents and I, and it seems like everything is hopeless. Every time my phone vibrates, I have a small panic attack. I'm terrified I'll get a message from him telling me he's done with me and never wants to speak to me again. I know I probably deserve him divorcing me, but I'll do anything to make this work. I just can't stop thinking about that night.